Hello, everybody, and welcome to Battle Report number 3 of the World Tour. So at this point, I'm still in New Jersey at this point in the tour, and I am getting a game on against Nick from Long Island Wargaming. So this was great. Talked to Nick a lot, but I never got to meet him in person. And so this was a fun opportunity to not only do that, but to also, play a nice, fun game of Warhammer. So that's what we're going to do. As always, I had him pick the army he wanted me to play. So if you remember, I had Tomb Kings, Skaven, and Bretonia with me, and the deal remained. I said, hey, you pick what army I'm playing, and I will pick the list. And I knew he had brought his Skaven with him, of course, and he was using a list that had double Hell Pit in it, as well as some other stuff from a tournament that he had went to and was or practicing for. And he said, "Well, why don't you play Tomb Kings since I had just played them with Mitch, and then you don't have to go get another army." I said, "Sure, fine. I love playing my Tomb Kings." So I got out a different list, one that I had made up before I left, and I was very excited to use. And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to do so. And you'll see exactly what that is here in a moment. So there's Nick, this happy, smiling face. For those of you who've met Nick in person, he's very tall. Tall, like everybody looks the same height on YouTube because we're all sitting in chairs adjusted to various heights. But Nick is a very tall individual, as you might have seen in one of the group pictures. So yes, this is him just sort of hanging out at the end of the game I had with Mitch. You can still see the remnants of Nagash's victory there. But let's go ahead and get into our game. So we kind of reset the table a little bit, just move some stuff around, put some pieces around, whatever, and we set up. So let's go ahead and take a look at the forces arrayed here. So we'll start over on Nick's side. Starting at the top, he's got a rat pack, 2 hell pits, big unit of slaves, big unit of storm vermin in the middle. He's got his bunker back there. Honestly, I don't remember if it's clan rats or slaves. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's just a bunch of rats. Then another unit of slaves down there on the bottom, and a rat pack, and then you can't see it, but hiding over there in the right corner is his single warp lightning cannon. So he does have a little bit of shooty. So I knew he was bringing Skaven and double hell pit, and I thought, what a great chance to get out the kitty cats. So this is my 5 kitty cat list, 5 Warsphinxes. Standing, I actually have 5. One of them was away at the moment, so I had to use Archon the Black, and he's standing in as my Tomb King on a kitty cat. So let's start at the top left for me. So up at the top, I have 3 chariots with the Banner of Swiftness, a Warsphinx, a Tomb King on Warsphinx, a Warsphinx, a Tomb Prince on Warsphinx, a bunch of skeletal archers with a level 2 Lich Priest to Nehekara. There's a Casket of Souls back there. Got another kitty cat. And then we have 3 chariots with the Flaming Banner, and then a Screaming Skull Catapult. Of note, all of these kitty cats have Flaming Breath. So there's a lot of fire, honestly, out of here. I'm not too worried about the Hell Pit's regeneration. The Flaming Chariots were set up, before the Hell Pits. Obviously, he saved the Hell Pit drops until last and wanted them as far away from as possible. But between the Flaming Screaming Skull Catapult, the Flaming Chariots, and 5 units with Fire Breath, I'm not too worried about them. Kitty cats are obviously a pretty good matchup for a heavy infantry list. They can really tear up infantry, especially people that can't generate high strength, say 7 attacks. At T8, they're pretty unbreakable by infantry. And even the Hell Pits themselves, yeah, they generate a ton of hits, but they can't Thunderstomp a kitty cat, and their impact hits and their actual attacks are still wounding on 6s. And so my basic battle plan here was to move up a little, get him moving forward, and then just kind of hang back, drop Fire Breaths where I could to melt as many rats as I could, and then just have the kitty cats stomp these rats into the ground. Seemed like a pretty good strategy. And use the catapult to try to, begin wounding out the Hell Pits where I could. If I could drop a flaming wound on their heads, then they wouldn't regenerate, and that would be, or they wouldn't ever come back. Sorry, they'd still regenerate later, obviously, but they wouldn't come back. And so that would be a good thing. The chariots are obviously just to sweep in from the side and impact, hit, and flank with the cats. Just, create combat res where necessary. And the archers are just there to bunker the dumb wizard. They have no other purpose. I'm not going to... There is absolutely nothing of value for them to shoot here except maybe the rat packs. Beyond that, it's pretty irrelevant. But his list is very scary. He does have double Bonebreaker Lord in there, and those guys are no joke. Those 2 Warlords on Bonebreaker, they will absolutely do damage. Storm Vermin can do some pretty good damage on their own. You got double Bonebreaker in there. That's not nothing. So definitely a very scary list, and let's see how it goes. So here we just have another angle. You can see I did catapult him. I won the turn to go first. And, I think that was just me getting the scatter dice ready because we haven't shot yet. So this is me at the top of my turn. And then here's me after my turn. Now, some things have happened here. And you'll notice that Warp Lightning Cannon over in the right where that red die was, that's no longer there. The Rat Pack is no longer there. On my first turn, I generated, let's say, a 7 or 8 dice magic phase, so something pretty average. And I realized that there was really only one thing to do, and so that was 6 die the casket, because that's a big winner. So I 6 died the casket, total powered it, which obviously has no negative effects on the casket itself. Started on his Warp Lightning Cannon, blew that up. The Rat Pack then turned and panicked off. The Warp Lightning Cannon was just within 6 inches of the slaves, so I jumped it to them. Did a couple, killed a slave or 2. Jumped it to 3+ing the whole time, by the way, to keep these jumps going. Jumped it to the Storm Vermin. Killed, let's say, 2 of them, jumped it to the Hell Pit, did 3 wounds to the first Hell Pit, jumped it to the second Hell Pit, did 4 wounds to that Hell Pit, jumped it to the Rat Pack, and obliterated them from the table. So as Casket of Souls go, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps. It might have then jumped back to the slaves or something. There might have been one more jump in there. I don't know. But let's say minimum 5 jumps in the first firing in the casket. All his chaff is gone, his range is gone, and his hell pits are half or more dead. So I would call that a successful first turn. Other than that, you'll notice we just kind of stepped up a little just to bring in range. So like my skeletons walked up to take some shots and stuff. No big deals. Just moving forward a little to give him the idea that I'm going to move up in the middle. Bringing the chariots up, obviously, to start the pincer maneuver. So that was a pretty great first turn. The catapult scattered off, but, I mean, really, I don't think I can complain when you have a 7-jump Casket of Souls. So that was, as first turns go, about the greatest in history. So that's just another shot of the death there post the casket. And here we have after Nick's first turn. So this is bottom of 1. He brings everything up, obviously. Now, one of the problems here is that obviously the Hell Pits were out in front, so they're kind of blocking off the slaves, which, I think obviously he probably wants to get those slaves into one of those kitty cats just to clog them up. Certainly the kitty cat will win that in the long run, but it's going to be a long time for him to stomp through 50 slaves. But the Hell Pits come barreling forward. They both rolled almost the same number, so that was kind of nice. And then everything else just, moves up aggressively, as one would expect. And because he knows he needs to get into me. He's got no range, and everything he has on the board wounds my cats on 6s. Even the Bone Breakers are still not high enough strength to wound my cats on anything less than 6s. So he wants to get in there. So then we have my movement from turn 2. And you can see, basically, I just step back to create the half circle, right? So everything kind of just shifts back. We're trying to, I measured out some distance away from the Hell Pits, so I would have, basically he would need to roll really strong with them to get into anything. Very strong odds he wouldn't get there. I think I'm like 14, 15, 16 inches away in most cases or more. So that's a fairly high roll on 3d6. I took the chariots into the slaves because I didn't want them getting into me and blocking anything up. I don't think the chariots win that in the long run, but they can do, a heck of a lot of damage. If he did, I wasn't sure at that point whether or not the Storm Vermin could actually see the flank of the chariots. The hill was making that a little difficult to measure. But I didn't really care either way. If he went in and flanked the chariots and blew them up, that really wasn't a concern to me because it would still set him up in an odd position when he reforms, where he's kind of blocking up the slaves, and I could then pick out what I wanted to fight. So the chariots go in there. The other chariots still just working their way around, taking some pot shots here and there at some slaves or at his bunker, I think, maybe at this point, whatever. And so that's after movement. And so then we go to Nick. And there is the magic roll for another 6 dice on the casket. So that is not just total power, that is super total power. on a 4/6 Casket of Souls. So I was pleased about that. And you'll notice after the casket resolves, things have changed a bit. So this is actually into his turn. So I blow up both the hell pits, which is, pretty nice. And they both die. And I also do some more damage to the storm vermin, his bunker, and the slaves. So once again, it jumps, I'm going to say 5 times, which is pretty good. Now, at the end of his turn, you'll notice there actually is a hell pit. He's kind of hiding over here in the woods. But if you look at the top of the picture, there is a hell pit fighting one of my kitty cats. Of course, at the end of his turn, or at the end of my turn, I guess, because you roll at the end of the turn, not just your turn. At the end of the turn, the hell pit rolled a 6, and one of them came back, and the other one died forever. I never did manage to get a flaming wound off on them, which was funny. So the hell pit wakes back up and charges right into the kitty cat. Again, not really scared of that. That hell pit, he rolled up 2 wounds. So he's on 2 wounds. The cat has his flaming breath still. That's a pretty strong situation. I'm not really too worried about it. So, and the chariots continue to grind with slaves. He ended up being a little shy of being able to see on the flank. So he just kind of moves his storm vermin up. The problem is if he goes after any one thing, there's obviously impassable terrain blocking off my archers from him getting at them. And if he goes after anything else, he's going to open himself up to a lot of kitty cat flank charges. And storm vermin are tough, but they can't take, 3 Warsphinxes in the flank. That's not a good day for any infantry unit. So then on my turn, what I do is I pull the other Sphinx back to make it a super long charge because he's got to wheel around that impassable terrain in my chariots. And that's just not an easy thing to shoot. And I bring all the kitty cats up and around, and we just lay down some flame breath and just roast storm vermin off of there. So out comes the flame template, and we just roast out a bunch of storm vermin. We have ourselves a little rat barbecue. So, obviously that many flame templates over storm vermin, over that kind of a horde infantry, it's a really terrible thing. I think I was hitting like 17 Skaven per flame breath or something ridiculous. I mean, it's really a best case scenario. And it doesn't, I'm not sure if it really looks like in the picture, but both of the Sphinxes are outside of his arc of sight. We went and, measured it out first, and both agreed, yeah, he's out of his arc of sight. You can't see him. So we were like, okay, that's fine. You'll notice that I did fail to actually kill the hell pit. Even blowing the flaming breath, I whiffed on every wound, which I thought was hilarious. And I think he did manage to do a couple wounds to me, so that's kind of funny. And going to combat this turn, and you can see after that turn, this is actually in his next turn, but after that, in the second round of combat, the kitty cat wakes up and does his job, and between the guys on top and the kitty cat, they kill the hell pit, who this time dies for good. I'm starting to lose some chariots here. I've got one, and one with 2 wounds left. And but they are grinding away those slaves. You can see his bunker has been getting hammered because I've been just driving the casket into that and putting archer shots into it and anything else I can. I'm just working down his bunker and working down his bunker. And he proceeds to, he kind of moves the slaves up to chaff, but he reformats his storm vermin. He makes one last desperate charge with his Bonebreaker Warlord here at my archers, because he could get around the impassable, but fails. And he does bring the slaves up to block out my Tomb King on Kitty Cat from getting into the Storm Vermin. But at this point, he doesn't have much left, and the middle, or one of these Kitty Cats has not yet blown his Flame Breath. I want to say it's the red one who can march up and do it. And at that point, we pretty much call the game, because his Storm Vermin barely have 2 ranks left, or 3 ranks left, and I'm about to take 3 cats into it, and he doesn't really have anything to stop me. So we kind of just say, okay, good stuff. It was late in the day. We were both hungry, and we all kind of agreed that, yep, once I get in there, that's going to be the end of that, especially with that Warlord missing and not able to charge anybody on the next turn. There was going to be no less than 1 Flaming Breath going into that unit, as well as a lot of Strength 5 attacks and Thunder Crushes and 3d6 Thunder Stomps, and probably not a great day to be a Storm Vermin, really, when it comes down to it. So Nick graciously accepted and granted me the victory there that the Kitty Cats had won, and so that was it. That was the last turn of the game. The Kitty Cats, no Kitty Cats fall, which is nice, and we end the game victoriously. So that was a fun game. I don't know how fun it was for Nick. That was the best casket performance of my life. I don't know how you fight something that total powers off twice and jumps 5 to 7 times both times. That is hot dice, pretty much the definition of it. So I'm sorry, Nick. That was some outrageous luck on my part. But it was certainly very fun, and Nick was a super good sport about it the whole time. He wasn't, like, oh, that's crap or anything like that. He was still having a lot of fun and super friendly, and was just a great guy to play against. And I would love to put Nick as a fellow Skaven player at heart, just like myself. And so a big shout out to the fellow member of the Verminous Horde there. So it was a great game, Nick. I'd love to play again anytime. Paul is currently trying to taunt me into going to Crossroads next year, or I guess this year, September or whatever. So if I do make it out there, I'm sure I'll see him there. But great game. Look forward to the next one. And that's pretty much that. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next when I head down to North Carolina and get some games in against Matirum and Du Bois. And there's our final shot of Ant and Nick after we got some food and I was heading out, giving the thumbs up for a good trip. A lot of fun, gentlemen. I appreciate your hosting, and I really enjoyed all my time there. Thank you to all the guys in Jersey who I saw, and can't wait to play again. See you next time, everybody.